Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about this Thor push skin effect using geometry node. Actually, the first attempt of this effect, it was not using geometry node. I can show you guys in my Instagram. If you like, you can go follow that. And if you see this, so that is the first attempt I do this effect using a bunch of modifier. It's using the dynamic weight paint, so it can be animated, but it cannot be applied to the shader. So by using geometry node, I can make more advanced version of this and even have more function, more flexible. It can be developed to a lot of other things. That's the result of this effect. You can see all this skin looking very realistic. We got this like a lighter spot that is being pushed the most, and you see this redder area. That is because the blood is being pushed to there. So this video will be two parts. First part will cover the shape of this push effect, and the next video will be covering the shader of this effect, and also we'll discuss more ways that we can play with this effect. Before we jump in, there's one thing I wish to ask you guys help. As you know, we really grow this channel. We almost hit 2,000 and it's in a quite short period of time. But the rule of the YouTube, if you want to make a profit from your channel, you have to gain enough of the view time. I think many of you watch tutorial video will be like dragging the timeline, right? So now we don't even have 1,000 hour watch time. I need at least 4,000 watch time to turn on the perfect. I really hope you guys can watch through the video, even you just play in the background. This way I can gain more for the watch time. And if you really want to help, you can go play this playlist and you just play in the background, let all the video to play by, and you just go do your own thing. That will be a huge help for me. Thank you. And also I will be posting this project file in my Patreon once I finish both of the video. And thank you for everyone that is joined my Patreon for your support. Without further ado, that's just being weird to make this weird effect. First, just make sure you have a 3D model that can be a human or anything you want to push. So this time we use a human. But better you hide the eyeball and the teeth, because we don't want the skin to be intersect with the eyes and the teeth. But of course, once we finish, you can also apply this geometry node group to the eyes and the teeth. But for the demonstration, we use without that, and we close the eyes. And first, just click on your 3D model, create a geometry node on top of it. I will name that to be skin push. We can pin this, so this geometry node will be mostly that we are working on. Now we need a cube to push the face, so we create a cube, make it like a plane that's kind of flat, and just resize the size to be somewhere reasonable. Mostly cover the face like this. And you don't have to make it this too thin, you will see later. Make sure the scale is not go to the negative, because the face orientation are important. We want the face orientation to be correct, which is blue, like this. Okay, so now we want to make it, go to this orange tag and go to the viewport display and set the display as wire. This way we can see what is inside. It will not cover the face. We can name that to be box and just drag that in the geometry node and set it to be relative. Now we will like to take a geometry node proximity. So this geometry node proximity will be kind of like a VIP for this effect. Everything is centered around this. We take the box to be the target, and we want to use the position to set the position of this body. So right away we can just plug the position of geometry node proximity to the set position. So you will see something like this. What does this mean is it used the position of the cube to replace the human body's position. It works kind of like the warp modifier. But what we want is not everything to be warped to the box. It's just some part to be warped, which is the part that is being pushed. So I already make a node group that is this. I put it in my asset library. Every time I want to use that, I can just drag in. And this will show that the result we want. I can show you like this. It will be pushed like this. So everything that is inside of the mesh will be warped on the cube. And like this is because the body is already past the center of the cube, so it will warp to the other side. So in this case, we can make the cube even thicker because we want to prevent this. If we make it really thick, it will not happen like that. So that is kind of what we want, but of course, usually we will not push that much. We just want to push the skin like the Thor here. It's only the muscle and the skin be pushed. So let's rebuild this its inside mesh node group. So we need a geometry proximity. Just plug box to the target. We need a vector math. Set it to be subtract. And what we want to subtract is the position of this body. So take a position and plug that in. But right away this position didn't mean anything until we plug all the way to here. Now we need another vector math and set this to be dot product and plug this in. So now we use this box to subtract the body, and we calculate that with the dot product. Dot product means a certain point is in which direction that is facing the normal, or the other way, it will give a value on 1 to 0. So what we want is a transfer attribute. And first set it to be vector and take the normal and plug this to the attribute and plug the source from the box, plug that with the dot product and compare. Set it to be greater than. So now we got this setup that is showing the point of this body is inside of this target box. If it's inside, it will be select, so it will be push. I will frame this so it's easier for you to see. The setup of the node is coming from Entagma. They are super good channel, but mostly they talk about Houdini. Sometimes they will talk about geometry node, and they are super professional, not like me. So just super suggest that you guys check out this channel. So basically we already pushed the skin, but right now it looks kind of boring because everything is just so flat. Everything push is like perfectly flat. So now we have to give some characteristic. Some place will be squish. So what we want is give a thickness. So we use extrude mesh to give a thickness. Click off this individual. I just plug that in, so everything will be pushed outside. And that number is too big, so set it to be 0.01. And now you see everywhere is to be pushed away, but what we want is using this selection. So you will get something looks like this. It's kinda ugly and weird. So we have to go to the modifier section, give a smooth modifier. factor to be 1 and the repeat to be 10. In this way, it looks a little bit more realistic, like if you be push, everything will be extrude out, and you get the skin that's like being pushed out. So it's sort of like what we want. If you like me using the human model, you might run into the same problem as me, that like the eye socket will be squished together, and also something like the nose hole and the mouth quite ugly. So what we can do is to hide that using selection. So we have to select this area to hide that. Go to the edit mode, select all this place that is inside of this human shape. So I'll be selecting here. And select the mouth, the whole of the nose. Yeah, so make a vector group and that select all these places that you wish to hide. And then exit the edit mode, go to the selections, use mask and choose group. Press this arrow to be invert. So just by using this mask modifier, you can hide some place that is intersect. Depends on your model and how much you push in. Sometimes it will hide well, and sometimes it might still have some intersect if you push too much. Try to find some way to hide, and that is one way. And try to adjust your 3D model to be more reasonable, because normally it will not be pushed like in front of that. It will be pushed like on the side. Yeah, I think this will do. So now it actually looking quite good, but still, just take a look. Maybe we extrude out a little bit too much, just a little bit less. And now it looks quite nice, but we can make it even more realistic by using some noise. So we will apply the noise in between this extrude mesh and this set position. We can frame this set position because this set position is quite important, so we name that to be push, so we know the action that is push. So we want another set position in between, and that is using some noise. So we take a noise texture and just try to plug that with the offset. It becomes very abstract. So first we know, usually what we do with this, we need a vector math and set it to be subtract and subtract 0.5. So the value will be between negative 0.5 and 0.5. And it still looks super abstract. Actually, it's quite beautiful. And of course, we still need this is inside of the mesh selection. So it will only be applied that is inside the box. We can see obviously it's too strong. We can use multiply and make it smaller. And why I use multiply instead of scale? Because if you see 0.5, you see here the noise will distort inward, that make the body be pushed in. That is not what we want, because we will only want it be pushed on the surface. We don't want this y-axis, so xy. So the second one we can set it to be 0, and we will not be pushed inside. So everything will be only pushed around the surface. Try to be 0.1. 0.1 might still be strong, but just try to change the W of this noise and also this scale. You can give some detail. Just play around with this noise texture, but the thing is, depend on the model that you're using. You might have not enough of the face to actually show the noise. So just subdivide surface right in the very front, so you will have more face to show there's actually some noise. And then there's a trick. We use this masquerade texture to distort the noise texture, and it will be looking more like what we want. So I can show you that. Just plug that in. So we can take out the color to the output. So go to the modifier section. We name this to be noise color. And then we go to the shader editor. Take an attribute and give the name, which is noise color, and plug the color to the base color of your human skin texture. We see this texture, we can make it stronger, color ramp. We just want to make it like a bigger contrast, so we can see, we can go back to the geometry node. So just try to adjust these two texture to get something that is desired. So that's the final result I got for this noise texture. That's the noise texture value. If you like, you can try to use the same one if it's difficult for you first time to try that. I changed a little bit for this setup. I use a scale to give a final adjust, and the multiplied value will be a little bit higher. Leave the Y to be a little bit, not necessarily have to be totally zero, just have to be much lower than the other two. It's easier if I just control this scale to the final control. And then if you don't like the result you got, you can just change the W for these two. So if you view it in the shader mode, you can see this kind of wavy form. It's quite similar to like, you know, like this push. Without this texture, masquerade texture, the noise is looking just like some kind of spot. So you will not get quite ideal. But now you might still think it looks quite flat. You can try to use a displace modifier and drag this to be just below the geometry node modifier and set the strength value to be very low, 0.01 maybe. You get something like this. If you change back to the texture, not using the wave, you might see something like kind of like a push. Maybe the value is a little bit high, just 0.05. Okay, so now you can see it's quite different with this noise and without the noise. This looks quite nature, but it's not perfect yet because we will like custom build displays inside of geometry node. It's quite important. That is because it works kind of like extrude out, right? But actually what we want to extrude is only the push area. Like you see the ear, we don't want it to have the displays, so it will not change the model. It only changed the place that I've been pushed. So we would like to make it inside. So that's just a little bit. This is the geometry proximity. I put them all in the same frame because they work together. And we can frame something. We can frame this to noise, right? And we frame this. So it's kind of like the final step that we are making for the mesh. So we will make a displace modifier in the inside of geometry node. We can turn off the displace modifier because we don't need that anymore. And we can lower the subdivision surface for now because it kind of drags the speed too much. We don't need that for right now. What we will like is another set position. Then just use vector math and normal and set it to be multiplied and plot the multiplied result to the offset 0.1. Yep, so if you see this kind of look, it means it works correctly. And then we can set it to be 0.01 first. So just a tiny little bit power. And what we will like to is another multiply. And we take this distance value from the geometry proximity. Give a color ramp. Compress the white value. You can see like everything from the outside compared to the box will be stronger, so we want to invert that. So just make it to be like a tiny little bit white beginning here. It will be something like this. Only the area that is very close to the box will be offset. Then just take the subdivision a little bit higher to see if that is the correct result. It looks very abstract again. So it kind of means that the power is too big. So we can take another multiplier to scale down a little bit. Okay, now it looks quite okay. But in my personal preference, I will use combine XYZ to control each of the value of the XYZ. So I will set it to be like this. It means I want the X and the Z to be in the same power and the Y to be another power. So it means I can control inward and the outward in the different value. So sometimes I feel like I would like to this push to be curved really deep, and I can change the Y. And sometimes I would like the skin to be spread out more, so I can change the this value for the X and Z. So basically it looks what we want. And then we want to make another box that is demonstrate the glass. So we can just duplicate this box and we named this box to be glass. We can set this viewport display back to the texture. Then we give a material to be glass. And we set this material later, and we have to make it thinner. Go to the editor and take the face that is another way from the face and make it like how the glass will be like. I think that looks okay. So just take up the translucency and the other just go all the way down. And if you are in the Eevee, go to the screen space reflection and click on all this stuff. Go to your glass material. And this screen space reflection, just turn on that. So that's how I set my screen space reflection. That is the value I would like to use. That's the IOR I set. The settings for the screen space reflection and the shadow mode to be none. So it was something like this, and maybe give the color of the glass a little bit, because sometimes glass looks a little bit green. It all depends on your like. So it looks quite okay now. You can change a little bit about all this. So now we can frame this another function, kind of like the thickness after the push. And you might see this kind of like the glass that is intersect to the body, because this area it got like a very big angle, very big turn, so the warping effect will be a little bit incorrect. But it doesn't matter, because we can just change the glass to be a little bit smaller from each side, just to make sure the connecting to the face section is somewhere that is aligned to the box. And sometimes you will like to make it a little bit inside to the box, because of this final thickness we give. It's kind of like push in a little bit, so the glass can be pushed back a little bit. It might affect the render, but it's not a very big deal. And remember to parent these two and make the box to be the parent, so that it's like a light orange color. Control P and keep transform. So this way, whenever you drag the box, the glass will go with it. That is for the mesh, but the texture, actually we still have a lot of things to work on. So it will be looking more like this, because right now all the color are the same, but actually in the real life, the color that is being pushed the most will be light, because all the blood is being pushed away. So also means somewhere around this white spot will be red. That we will discuss in the next video. And in next video also we have a lot of other things to discuss, like another ways to use this push, like how do you put it inside of a box, or you can use this effect to make a scar on the face, or you can be very abstract. So hope to see you in the next video, that we have a lot of things to conclude this effect. If you like this video, just subscribe and leave a comment, and I really hope you can watch through my other videos. That is going to help me grow this channel. Play the playlist and put it there, and mute the volume and go watch other video. Let the playlist to play by, and I will be so thankful for that. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.